I literally spent years of my life wondering why I didn't have enough willpower to stay on course with eating healthy. Is it just me, or do other people feel this way too? That was my thought every day for years. I just don't have any willpower. I cannot tell you how many women have said those exact words to me. And maybe you've said them to yourself too. You start eating something and you feel like you can't stop. You make promises to yourself at night that you break the very next day. You do well when life feels calm, but the moment stress or travel or hormones or emotions enter the picture, all of your willpower disappears. And eventually you conclude, I must not have enough of it. But if you're a believer, I want to gently challenge that belief today. See, you do have access to self-control. But biblical self-control is very different from willpower that diet culture has taught you to depend on. Diet culture usually begins with momentum. You know that feeling like you've chosen a new plan and you've cleaned out your pantry and you bought all the groceries and you have a fresh notebook, a new water bottle, and maybe a pair of workout shoes that make you feel like this version of you is finally going to get it together. And in the beginning, following the rules feels almost exciting. You say no to dessert, you meal prep, you wake up early to work out, and you track everything. And because your motivation is high, you believe this is it. This time, it's really going to work. But eventually, real life returns. You don't sleep well, someone in your family needs you, or your schedule fills up, or an emotional problem comes in, and the food you've planned isn't going to work for you because you're tired of the rules that require you to think about it all day. And suddenly, what felt easy 2 weeks ago feels almost impossible. And when willpower runs out, you blame yourself. But willpower was never designed to carry the full weight of lasting transformation. See, willpower says, I will force myself to do the right thing. But biblical self-control says, I will depend on the Holy Spirit to help me choose what is good. Willpower is centered on your own ability, but self-control is rooted in God's ability through you. Galatians 5 tells us that self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It's not listed as a personality trait reserved for naturally disciplined people, and it's not a reward for women who have mastered meal planning. It's a fruit that grows as we remain connected to the Spirit. And that means when you say, I have no willpower, you may be describing how powerless you feel, but you are not describing the full truth of what is available to you. The Spirit of the living God is not absent from your struggles. Now, I want to be careful here because telling you that the Holy Spirit gives you self-control is not another spiritual way of saying, try harder and stop making excuses. This is not about shaming you because you should be doing better. It's an invitation to stop fighting alone. God understands your physical temptation. He understands your weakness, and He understands the pull towards immediate comfort. See, Hebrews tells us we can approach Him confidently for mercy and grace in our time of need, and that includes the moment that you're standing in front of the pantry or refrigerator. That includes the moment you feel like you need food to soothe what hurts, and the moment that everyone else has gone to bed and you want to disappear into eating. Those moments are not too small or too ordinary or too embarrassing to bring to God. 1 Peter tells us to cast all of our cares on Him, and all means all. Your health matters to Him. Your relationship with food matters to Him. See, one reason self-control feels so confusing is because many of us associate it with restriction. We think self-control means always saying no to things like cake or pizza or indulgences. But freedom and self-control aren't enemies, they're partners. Your desire for cake is not automatically wrong. Food and taste are a gift, and celebration is a gift. And there's a time to enjoy something simply because it tastes wonderful. But there's also a time to say, this is available to me, but not helpful for me right now. 1 Corinthians 10 says that not everything is permissible is beneficial for us. Biblical freedom in food means you're no longer mastered by it. You're free to enjoy it, and you're free to leave it. You're free to have dessert without guilt, and you're free to decide you don't need dessert tonight. Self-control allows the choice to come from wisdom instead of fear or compulsion or rules. So let's make it practical. Imagine you've had dinner. You're physically satisfied, but later you begin craving something sweet. The willpower approach would be like, no, you can't have that. You've already eaten. Be good. And that may work for a while, but it may create a mental health battle that eventually you eat far more than you wanted to. But a spirit-led approach could sound like, Lord, help me understand what I need right now. And then pause. Maybe you realize you truly want dessert and can enjoy a reasonable portion without guilt. And maybe you realize you're exhausted and you're trying to use food to stay awake. Maybe you're anxious and trying to fill an emotional void. You could pray, God, thank you that food and your grace are sufficient for me. Help me enjoy food without becoming dependent on it. Give me self-control in this moment, and then make the choice. Not because you're afraid God will be mad at you, and not because the food makes you good or bad, but because you are learning to live as someone who is free. For years, you may have believed you were the weak link in every plan. Maybe you've carried the embarrassment of hiding food. Maybe you've eaten things in the car so no one would see. Maybe you've thrown away wrappers before walking into the house, or promised yourself countless times that tomorrow would be different. And every broken promise has chipped away at your trust in yourself. So I want you to hear this clearly. Your struggle does not make you disgusting. Your weakness does not make you hopeless. Your need for help does not disappoint God. Weakness is often the place where we finally stop pretending that we can save ourselves and remember that God's grace is sufficient for us and His power is made perfect in our weakness. You see, self-control grows through practice. You may not pause every time. You may not make the choice you hope to make every time. But each time you become aware and invite God in and choose what is helpful, you strengthen a new pattern. And over time, the pause becomes more natural, the prayer becomes more natural, and the wise choice becomes familiar, because depending on Him is becoming your habit instead of always turning to food. This is one of my favorite parts of God's undiet because it completely reframes self-control. We stop treating it as evidence that some women are strong and others are weak, and we begin learning how grace, freedom, and spirit-led discipline work together. God's Undiet is a 40-day journey designed to help you move away from diet rules, guilt, and all-or-nothing thinking, and toward food freedom, mindful choices, and biblical stewardship. I'll leave the details below if you're tired of trying to white-knuckle your way through another plan. But whether you join me or not, I want you to begin changing one sentence in your mind. Instead of saying, I have no willpower, begin saying, I'm learning to walk in the self-control that the Holy Spirit gives me. That isn't pretending the struggle isn't real. It is choosing to agree with a truth that is greater than the struggle. You are not powerless. You are not fighting alone, and you do not need to become perfect before God will meet you in the hard place of your nutrition struggles.